Now, before that, it's a well-known fact that 1 in 4 of us will experience some form of mental health problem in our lives. But despite that, the stigma around the subject remains. One of the biggest challenges for those who've experienced mental health problems can be getting back into work.
That's why our partner charity Mind has teamed up with the Jersey Employment Trust. Jessica Savage has been speaking to one islander whose job has given her renewed purpose.
When I was really ill, I found it hard to be around people. I basically wanted to be on my own all the time, or just with my family. So it was quite isolating. I was very, very ill, and I basically stayed home and didn't go out much. And there's been periods of my life where I've gone through that, where I've just wanted to hide away and not go out. I didn't have the energy to really be around people, and I didn't have the capacity to really feel as though I wanted to be around people.
Chloe started to experience serious mental health problems in her late teens. It's been a long, tough journey, but more than a decade later, she finally feels she's arrived in a good place. After years being out of work, Jersey Employment Trust arranged an office placement for her.
Hello, AFM, how may I help you?
And bosses here say the Trust's placements have been good for the company as well as the candidates.
Some of the guys who started off an hour a day, 2 hours a day, were working full-time hours by the end of their placement. And we've actually converted some of those unpaid work placements into paid full-time roles.
I've seen people physically change in terms of the way they walk down the corridor, and some people are almost unrecognisable because of sense of pride, confidence at people, self-esteem. So work is one part, and pay obviously is always good for us, but I actually think people finding friends and confidence and being part of Jersey is really important.
That's why Jet have been working closely with mental health charity Mind to promote good mental health in the workplace.
Work is important for many of us because it gives us a feeling of inclusion and involvement, and it gives us a feeling of esteem quite often, and also because we're aware that people sometimes need support in staying in work if they are experiencing mental health difficulties.
Chloe's mental health is better now than it's been in years. She's found confidence she never knew she had and urges others to contact Jersey Employment Trust and Mind.
They'll help you in all different ways, and at the end of it you'll feel valued and accepted, and your life will be better.
Chloe Lane ending that report there, and one man who knows only too well the difficulty balancing a high-profile career while coping with mental illness is former footballer Clarke Carlisle. With an illustrious career as a player for Leeds United and QPR, Clarke hid his depression from his teammates for nearly 20 years. Last year, he hit rock bottom and tried to kill himself.
Well, today he was a special guest at a conference organised by Jersey Employment Trust and Mind Jersey, and he joins us now in the studio to talk about his extraordinary journey. But before we speak to Clarke, here's how his mental illness took him from the top of his profession to his lowest ebb.
As a professional footballer, Clarke Carlisle had the world at his feet. A top player for the likes of Burnley and Leeds United, he was a successful and well-paid star, living out many a young boy's dream. And he was intelligent on and off the pitch.
It's good to see Sir Alex Ferguson's intent there.
A regular pundit on ITV Sport, a contestant on Countdown,
Carrions,
and representing fellow players as PFA chairman. But Clarke had been keeping a secret which almost cost him everything. His depression culminated in him trying to take his own life last December, when he walked out in front of an oncoming lorry on the A64 near York.
Everybody at Hull, and I'm sure the whole of football, wishes him a speedy recovery, and let's hope that it's good news for us in the new year.
It was good news for Clarke as he made a strong recovery and is now determined to support others who may be going through a similar ordeal. And Clarke is here with us now. Such a powerful story. Just tell us, back in December last year, how were you feeling at your lowest point?
Oh wow, it's an opening gambit and a half. How long have you got? I've tried to articulate as often as possible, but it will seem nonsensical. to anyone who hasn't been in that position where you have overridden the natural instinct to survive. You know, it's almost impossible to comprehend what position, what place your mind is in, where death it's not an escape, it is the logical and rational solution to the events and situation that you're in. I'd rationalise that my wife would be better off, my children would be financially secure, my parents would no longer be ashamed or embarrassed of me, and this is all because my, you know, how I was perceiving life, that compass that I was using, was just so gripped in the depths of depression that seemed like the logical answer.
As you just mentioned, a lot of people who aren't going through it, who haven't been through it, find it impossible to comprehend. How did your family react to your suicide attempt?
Oh, wow. You know, immediately it spikes me with guilt and shame at what I had to put my wife through, what I had to put my parents, my siblings through. You know, being honest about it with my children, which is imperative for them to understand and be able to be free with their emotions with me. So how was it for my family? It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting, but they were delighted that by some miracle, by some blessing, I survived.
Did they have any inkling about what you were going through? I mean, this was something you kept hidden for decades. Did they have any idea, your wife? I mean,
you know, my depression was diagnosed in 2010, so I'd started to learn about depression at that point. I was taking fluoxetine, 20 mils a day, and I thought that was the answer. But there's a distinct difference between acknowledging the problem and knowing how to move forward and manage the problem. And that was what that was what allowed me to get from knowing that I had depression to a second suicide attempt. You know, so how did I hide it from my family? Because if you want an Oscar-winning movie, you have a cast of depression sufferers. We're the best actors in the world. You go out into your workplace, into your family, and you put your mask on. Hey, how are you? I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. And then it's when you're in that enclosed space, when you're behind closed doors, that's when the fraudulence kicks in. That's when the guilt and the shame, the embarrassment, the low self-esteem, that's when you're having that dialogue, because it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. You argue with yourself, and you don't enable yourself to get any kind of objectivity on your thoughts.
And you talked about hiding it from your family and in the workplace as well. And for you, your workplace was, you know, the football training ground, the football pitch and the dressing room. How did you hide it from your teammates for all that long period? That must have been extremely difficult in such a male bravado environment as football.
Well, quite to the contrary, you know, you act in that alpha male environment anyway, because not everyone's an alpha male. Just because someone has a natural aptitude and ability to play football doesn't mean they're an alpha male. It means they're talented in a specific area. So you pretend to be, you know. And the one thing about the industry of football is that the highs and lows are on a week-to-week basis, never mind a year-to-year basis. So if I am going through a low time and I want to drink myself into an escape, the fact that we lose a game is a fantastic opportunity to do so. And it doesn't look like I'm doing anything different to anyone else, you know. So it's no one else's responsibility to have known what was going on in my life. How could they have known if I didn't tell them?
You describe what happened to you last December as a turning point in your life, and that you've taken a lot of positives from it. What do you mean by that?
Taken a lot of positives from it. I'm alive. Thank God, hallelujah, I am here to sit here in this chair and converse with you and relay my experiences, because I know from experience, I know I'm analogous about football, but football's a microcosm of wider society. You know, I know that there are more sufferers in the dressing room because I've been there with them. I know because I presented a documentary about it and they flooded me with responses. But you factor that out to the 1 in 4 in society, which again is so far under the mark because there are so many people living in ignorance. I had depression for 10 years before it was diagnosed, and I didn't know I had a problem. I just thought I was misbehaving. I just thought that I couldn't deal with certain situations. It wasn't, it was because I was depressed. And there's a huge portion of sufferers out there who don't actually know that there's something that they're dealing with. So my positives coming out of here are that I'm well today.
And you now want to help others. You've been at a conference in Jersey today. What has been the key message from your perspective to come out of that?
The key message today, what really encouraged me today was the appetite, not only of Jet and what they're doing, but the organisations that were there to try and educate themselves about the abilities of people with mental health issues and the fact that they're no different from any other employee. So it was wonderful to get across to them that, work is available for all, and just because I've got a mental health issue, it can be managed.
It's great to hear, and good luck with your future work. Clarke Carlisle, thanks very much for joining us.
What an inspiration. And as Clarke says, the most important thing for anyone with mental health problems is not to suffer in silence.
Yeah, there's lots of help and advice for you on our website about, for example, our partner charity Mind, who are there to offer available support, and all the contact details for them and for Mind Guernsey are on our website, itv.com/channel.